All right, well, I think we're going to get started. Like I've said, we're going to be talking about direct routing for teams this morning and just understanding what that means to partner with Ingram and Switch Connect. And I will pass over to Rowan Mills to present. Thank you, Rowan.
Thanks, Tash. Thanks everyone for joining today. It's great to talk to a number of Ingram partners and really talk about the newest technology to come out to the industry as we're in a revolutionary time through the voice market. So we might just quickly jump in. So just to start off, a little bit about Switch Connect, just a bit of a background in who we are. We're a fairly low-key player that many of you haven't probably heard of us before, but we've been around for a while. Established back in 2015, we're a global provider of unified communication solutions that we actually deliver on a global basis. So we've got local termination agreements in most countries globally. So what that means for yourselves, if you've got customers, global customers where you may be supporting their Australian operation, we can also help support you in delivering the same solution globally for your customers. One of the key points about Switch Connect, we are a channel-focused go-to-market company. So we only work via channel partners and wholesale providers. So we don't actually directly sell to end users ourselves. Any of that business is all normally done via a channel partner. So someone has introduced us and is managing that relationship, and we're just partnering with them. Same as what the Ingram offering is, and with yourselves, we'll partner with you and help you deliver the Teams Direct Routing product. On Teams Direct Route, we're one of the first to market carriers in Australia actually delivering that offering. As you'll see, a lot of companies have made announcements early this year that January, beginning of February, they've started the Teams Direct Route. We've actually been doing it since about September last year when it first came out with Microsoft. So we're very quick to get onto the Microsoft Teams bandwagon, and we've been really pushing that product for a number of months now. Just give you a bit of an understanding, I think every vendor has these slides. So we are a tier 1 provider, so we're using all tier 1 vendors through our back end. So we do run a carrier grade tier 1 5.9 supported backend with N+1 redundancy. So you can be assured that any of your customers bring on, we are delivering the same level of carrier redundancy as any other carrier in this country currently delivers. Just want to jump into a little bit around where the voice industry is going and where the Teams and Teams Direct Route piece plugs in. So if we look at traditional voice over the years, we come in from the old dial tone. Everyone's had a phone on their desk for many, many years. But over the last couple of years, we've seen some great transitions within that working environment. And this kind of really sums up where we see moving from probably mid last year, and we'll see moving on up until 2020 and beyond, is that the diversity within the working teams are actually changed. So it's multi-generations are now working together. The rise of collaboration and team-based working has greatly increased. So we're seeing everyone's, where you used to work by yourself and yeah, you'd go into a meeting room and have a conference call once a week or an audio call, and you'd send PowerPoint presentations around. Everyone was kind of working dispersely and separately. We're now seeing that's all team-based and working in real time. So especially with the rise of Teams, it's now, I know within our business, we've got 3 global offices. Everyone's working together. Everyone lives and breathes in Teams, and everyone wants to work on the same document at the same time. So it's cutting down the time to get material out to customers, and also the forwards and backs of different release versions and things like that. That no one actually has the latest copy of a presentation when they need it, or a document. So we're really seeing the rise of that collaboration, and that's where the Teams product fits in really well. And then also the whole global movement of workers. There's been a big trend probably over the last 2 years where we see with inside customers, not only the small SMB right up to we've got some partners that deal in the high-end enterprise space, They're all going to open plan offices now, so the whole working environment's changed where everyone had their own individual office or cubicle. It's all going to open plan office now, and then also to a hot desking environment. And everyone's becoming mobile. So people are working from home now, they're working on the road, they're out seeing customers, but they want that same user experience. So this is where telephony and collaboration has really grown, because a lot of the traditional legacy systems can't cost effectively or easily deliver that experience for their workforce. And that's where Microsoft Teams built the Teams product offering. It doesn't matter what device I'm on or where I'm logging in from, it's a consistent user experience. So from a business perspective, if I'm on my desktop, if I'm on my mobile, if I'm on a web browser somewhere, and then cross-platform architecture. So if I'm Windows or Mac, if I'm iPhone or Android, there's none of these debates now over what the company wishes to take. With the rise of bring your own device into the workforce, this is a great architecture that supports that. It doesn't rely on any specific underlying platform anymore. So you can really sell to any of your customers moving forward. It's that wonderful cross-platform experience, and it's the same user experience across all of it. So from an internal support perspective, a lot of you guys on the call are a managed services provider. It's the same user experience you're supporting now on a Mac or a Windows. So it's not, our guys are only know Windows, they don't know Macs. From a client and a customer support perspective, it's the same experience. It's the same application and the same support processes. So it's becoming really, really good for businesses going forward. And in that collaboration space, it's wherever you are, you can collaborate. Even on the iPhones now, you can actually screen share your iPhone or your Android screen inside a Teams call. So you can screen share and do presentations from your iPhone now. I actually did one last week. I was on the road traveling, and I could present from my iPhone now. So it doesn't matter what device you're on, you can really go forward. And then this comes into the whole direct routing piece. What does that actually mean? Just a bit of a market analysis in where the whole voice industry is going. We start in the middle. A whole lot of abbreviations. Everyone in our industry loves to go AAS as a service. So it seems to be the latest buzzword. So we'll just step through just to show you where the forecast for this year really is. So we start off as voice as a service. This is your traditional marketing going from on-premise phone systems to cloud PBX or cloud phone systems or hosted phone system, whatever you wish to call that. So it's voice as a service, so delivering that. You then get UC as a service, which was the next evolution. So that's when you get into unified comms as a service. So I don't know if you're like us, but in our business, we had multiple apps to collaborate with people. If people were using iPhones, we had iMessage, we had email, we had WhatsApp, we had WeChat, we had Skype for Business chat. There's all these different chat mechanisms. So that's really UC as a service. There's that unified comms, trying to streamline that to a single app. So most of the hosted voice providers will have a UC as a service play. They'll have some sort of office collaboration app, which is similar to Skype. Everyone had a third-party one. A lot of them on the desktop would integrate to Skype, so you could pull your presence through your Microsoft stack. But where a lot of them fell down is when you're on the mobile phone, the Skype for Business app would only work for internal chat and internal calls. You couldn't ring out to customers. So that's the UCaaS. CC as a service is call center. Obviously, if we take the phone system from on-premise and stick it in the cloud, we then go, how do you run all those value-added call center solutions over the top? So that was the rise of call center as a service. So a lot of those are being pushed to the cloud now. And then CP as a service is a collaboration platform as a service. So this is when you look at your Lifesize, your Starleaf, your Cisco conferencing, all those on-premise video conferencing used to have in your data rack a video bridge that everyone would dial into. That's all being pushed to the cloud. But the greatest change we're seeing in the market at the moment is team working apps. So obviously the pioneers, the kind of the industry was Slack kind of came out and everyone jumped on the Slack bandwagon very early on, and was that collaboration piece. And then obviously Microsoft saw the need and the value in that within the Office 365 platform. So brought out Teams, and it's just now ever growing. And it's the marketplace around that and the integrations that you can see through the marketplace in the things that you can integrate into Teams now. So if you do any social media marketing or anything like that, like there's plugins for Facebook and LinkedIn now, so people respond to your posts, they can automatically pop up in Teams and you can have that cross-platform chat. So it's now becoming that the nirvana that every business talks about is that single pane of glass for your collaboration needs. And that's really where Teams is going. And it's ever evolving. It's got a really, really strong roadmap with Microsoft currently. So we're seeing that push more and more and more. So realistically, what does that look like? What is direct routing? Everyone, it's kind of this methodology product that everyone talks about. It's like a technology in the industry, a new technology everyone talks about, but no one knows what it actually is. So in essence, on the right-hand side, we've got your Microsoft Teams, so within your Office 365. And what Direct Route allows us to do is switch connect cloud in the middle. We can connect you to the public phone network. So you can ring out, dial tone, have inbound, outbound calls to your customers from a voice perspective. So I'm ringing a mobile number, a landline number, all those services can be delivered. And we take care of all the smarts and complexity for you and linking that to the Office 365 cloud. Many of you have probably been down the Skype for Business road where there was a whole lot of on-premise, really complex technology that you had to deploy around session border gateway controllers, cloud connection edition, all this infrastructure that you had to deploy locally that became a very cost prohibitive option for customers who wanted that Skype for Business, that chat, that single client. With the Direct Route product, it allows us to, in essence, deliver a SIP trunk straight to your Microsoft Teams environment for you, and we handle all that complexity for you. So it's a great product. It can scale right down to your small SMB clients and then right up to your large enterprise customers. Just want to cover off where that fits into the stack and where the value add upsells are for you within the Office 365 stack of products. So obviously we've got the Switch Connect Direct Route product that handles your PSTN dial tone. From your PBX functionality within the Office 365 stack, there's two bolt-on options that you can get. So there's cloud phone system, and that's the main component you need for direct routing to work. That gives you all your phone system capability within the Office 365 stack. You've also got the audio conferencing bolt-on. So this is if you have a lot of calls, external calls, like this similar meeting, you go to a meeting and you want to have your audio conference bridge for customers to dial in. There's a bolt-on license there for audio conferencing, and that gives you those global numbers in which customers, we've all seen them when you get the invite and you select your region, it gives you the number and a meeting ID to dial in. That's what the audio conference bridge product does. The integration, Microsoft really spent a lot of time with customers and understanding how they use this. So they've also got a really cool feature called auto escalation. So if someone rings you and you want to instantly change that to a conference meeting, you can just add in a bunch of people and it will auto escalate that call to your audio conference bridge and dial out to those users. So that's a really, really nice feature. There is a requirement around Office Direct Routing that it needs to be an E-Series 365 licensing. There are some changes coming to that. It will support Business Premium shortly. It just hasn't been pushed out to all regions yet. We've tested it in our region. It does work with some, it doesn't work with others. So there's still, it hasn't been mainstream pushed out. So there is still a requirement to have an E-Series, whether that's E-Series 1, 3, or 5. Just a bit around the licensing. If you've got an E-Series license, like an E3 series or E1, the phone system and audio conferencing is a bolt-on license that you can add on. So you can add on just the phone system and then choose whether you want audio conferencing. It is a per user based bolt-on. If you've got an E5 series license, it includes all three for you straight away. So there is that upsell opportunity. And obviously going to E5, there's a bunch of other Office 365 services that could add value to your customers. One of the questions we get quite asked a lot is, with the Ingram and Switch Connect relationship, it is a referral based agreement, and many people have asked us, why is that? I just want to buy it, single bill it to my customer. So one of the things in Australia, and you'll find this in most countries around the world, is telecommunications is a regulated industry. So in order to bill your customer for telco related services, there's a whole lot of compliancy and services and government departments that you have to be registered with. So the main one is the Telecommunication Ombudsman. So everyone's heard about the TIO, and if you've got a complaint with the carrier and you don't feel you're getting the answer you want, you can escalate to the Telecommunication Ombudsman. There is so to sell voice services, you've got to be registered with them in the first instance and go through their compliancy setup. You then also have to be compliant with ACMA, who's the Australian Communications Office, and some of their services are data retention regulations, how long we've got to store data, mandatory wiretaps. You've got to have processes and systems in place for that. You've also got to be a member of ComCom Alliance. You've got to have membership, and through their compliance team, there's a whole lot of procedures around fair usage policies, CIS documentation, complaints handling policies. So there's a whole lot of compliance that you've got to have there. The other biggest issue we find is you've got to have a telco billing system. So they're referred to as a utility-based billing system. We've all seen when we get our phone bills, you've got every single call listed. So you've got to have a system that can support that, and obviously mediate those core records that we'd send, that as a wholesale carrier we'd send through and then mark up to your customers. So not many people have them. It's not a cheap system to implement. And then one of the biggest features that when you get to the end of that, say I go through and do all that compliancy, the other thing comes down to Teams doesn't have all the features that you need for a business. So one thing, Microsoft isn't traditionally a voice company. They're a software and business process company, and they've released a voice offering. So it will give you dial tone and some basic call flow requirements for your customers, but they don't have all the features that your customer needs so that you can actually transition them to Teams. So at SwitchConnect, we're an innovative carrier. We've built a whole lot of bolt-on and overlay services so we can actually deliver you the call flow requirements your customer needs. So around some of this could be any call center, any contact center requirements, or any complex after-hours routing services or internal call flow services. We've actually got bolt-on products that can actually deliver what your customer actually wants, which they won't normally be able to get out of Teams. So they're just some of the main points. There's an endless list of other things that you need to consider, but that's really the high-level points in which you need to consider, and why Ingram's really partnered with SwitchConnect, because we take away all these requirements for you and deliver that to you as an offering. To jump into how the pricing model, and we'll also talk about Telstra calling plans. As we all know, there's an exclusivity with Microsoft at the moment to buy calling plans in Australia. Is directly through Telstra. We'll touch base on a bit of the comparison options as we step through the pricing here. So to really quote, to get a price for your customer, we've kind of broken it down to 4 simple steps. We've got 2 different pricing models, and this really comes from our experience in selling voice for many, many years. We have your traditional one-to-one calling plans. So you can buy, say you've got 4 Teams users, you simply buy 4 calling plans, 1 for each user, and that's the per user model. So this is the Telstra model, is a purely per user, and that's really Microsoft's model, is all per user. Some of the complexities around that, obviously we all know if you go and buy from Telstra, you've got to move your whole Office 365 licensing and basically change the ownership of that customer over to Telstra. One of the other couple of little requirements is there is a minimum of 25 users to actually buy the Teams calling plans through Telstra, and there is a fairly hefty setup fee which actually gets funneled out to other Telstra partners. So you start to lose control of your actual customer, which isn't our model. We do the per user model. They really suit in your sub 20 handset type users. Anything over that, we'd really have discussion around the per channel model for you. So where the per channel model is, it's like your traditional phone systems now. I may have a phone system on premise with a customer. They've got 100 users that want to use that phone system, but they may only have 10 SIP channels out to the public network because they're only taking 10 concurrent calls to the public network. Because we're really seeing, with the rise of collaboration as a service, we're now seeing that everyone are actually making rich experience calls. So they're using Teams to Skype. They're ringing their customers. They've got Teams set up within their Microsoft Teams where they're collaborating externally with customers. But they're all not ringing to the public phone network. They're all utilizing the Microsoft Teams infrastructure. So they don't pay for those calls. They're not rolling out to the phone system. So they don't count as part of the channel count when we talk about channel count. So what we've done is we've built that same model. So this really fits in well if you're over that 20, 30 seats. You may only want 5 concurrent calls to the phone network. It is a true cloud architecture strategy. You can scale that up, scale that down as per your requirements. And all those channels then are shared across all your customers. All your customers' users within that Office 365 tenancy. So the channel model is based on a per tenancy, and same as the per user plan. It's all based on a per tenancy. So you can't just buy, say, 100 channels as an MSP and then share that across all your customers. It is on a tenant, Microsoft 365 tenant by tenant basis. So we really see the most popular, probably 90% of our partners all sell the per channel model. It works out as a far more cost-effective model moving forward. And that's just some of the smarts in which we've been selling in this industry for long enough. We just understand that that's the pricing model that works really well for customers. To jump into the pricing, so within each, if you choose the per user model or the per channel model, there's 3 options again, and it's all around included calls. Do you want, if they're a small customer, they don't make a huge lot of calls, but they just want to have the option, you can buy it with no included calls, you can buy it with all your local national calls included, or you can buy it with all your local national mobile calls included. So the prices here are the end user prices. We will get on shortly to what that rebate looks like through Ingram. So there is a price book available that steps through all this pricing in a bit more depth. If you contact the cloud team or your account manager at Ingram, they'll be able to send that through to you. So there is a price book. A couple of things to note. If you go the per user plan, whatever user plan you choose, all customers within your tenancy has to have that same plan. So if you choose the Teams User Plus with the unlimited calls, all users have to have that same unlimited plan within your Office 365 tenancy. And with the per channels, all channels have to be the same. Because they're shared across all users, you can't specify no included calls on some channels and unlimited on other channels. They all have to be the same, which is pretty simple to understand. Obviously, the overage core rates are here. All the unlimited plans are subject to fair usage policies, which are available from our website, in which if you contact the Ingram Cloud team, they can also send that through, which are fairly standard in our industry. A lot of it is unlimited plans can't be sold for call centres, and it's excluding any illegal activity as well. So there's a bit of fair usage policies that apply to these as well. We then go on, so that's step 1 and step 2. Step 3 comes into your additional services and setup charges. So we've actually got listed here, so 3 additional services, and these offerings are building out more and more every month now as we just bring on some of those value-added services that we find that customers need to make Teams right for them. So we've got an enhanced auto attendant. So Microsoft Teams actually has its own built-in auto attendant. There are some limitations to it. It mightn't deliver what you need for your customer. So we do have an enhanced auto attendant that comes from our heritage in hosted PBX, which we can deliver the functionality that you're missing. We also have an enhanced call routing service. So there are hunt groups in Microsoft Teams or call groups they call them, or ring groups. You may know them of, depending on where you come from the voice. So they do exist within Teams, and they're included, but there are some limitations to them around functionality. So we do have an enhanced call routing service on our side that is a value-added bolt-on that you can choose should you need that for your customers' requirements. And then if your customer has any call center or contact center requirements, we do have an overlay product, which is more around the contact center. So just a bit of a myth in our industry, everyone mixes and matches the word call center and contact center. So from our perspective, how we determine between a contact center and a call center is purely audio. So it's inbound, outbound audio calls. When we refer to a contact center, we're talking about omni-channel. So it could be a phone call, it could be a web chat, it could be an email, maybe a Facebook feed, maybe an SMS message. That's where we talk contact center. So we have deployed a number of contact centers overlaid to Microsoft Teams. So the end soft client in that environment becomes the Microsoft Teams client, and you get your full contact center, your wallboard, your dashboard, and all that management capability. We have got a new offering coming out around the call center offering that should be out in the next 2 or 3 weeks, which comes in at a much cheaper price point. It's around $40, $50 per agent. So we have been working with a number of partners who have requirements around that. So we have built a product offering around that. It's just going through some final testing, and we'll be launching that back through the Ingram channel. So if you are interested in those sorts of offering, definitely reach out to your account managers at Ingram, and we can start a conversation around what you actually need. From a setup charge perspective, there's a one-time setup enablement charge for your customers to set up direct route. This is from our side. Because we are a very channel-focused business, we believe that all the main provisioning work should actually be done by the Ingram partner themselves. So it's the MSPs is to actually go out and configure the Office 365, go and run the training, etc. from that side. So what this enablement charge is actually all the configuration on our side. So doing all the smarts to actually link it into your 365. Obviously, we're there to support your engineering and support staff around getting that up and running, doing testing, and make sure that everything's working fine for them. So that's your setup charges. There's then also porting charges. So part of the direct route, we can port customers' existing numbers across and deliver them back to Microsoft Teams. So we've got the porting charge listed there. And then if you've got contact center, it's all depending on what the customer's requirements. So it's kind of price on application. If you do have any of those requirements, definitely reach out to the Ingram team and let's organize a session to talk around what your customer actually needs, and then we can help you come back with what that actually looks like. Number ranges. So if we're hosting number ranges and you need them, so one requirement with direct route is every user you provision in 365 for direct route has to have a direct in-dial number. That's a Microsoft requirement. So a lot of customers on old phone systems might have had just say two single phone lines coming in, PSTN lines, and then everyone had an internal extension but didn't actually have a direct in-dial number. It is a requirement in Microsoft Teams that everyone has a direct in-dial number. So you may need to buy your customers a number range. We can overwrite the phone number, so when they ring out, it all presents the main phone number. There is that option to actually do that, but these are the charges. So if we port across, say, 100 number range, there will also be a monthly charge to host that number range as well. And we've got the porting changes. So that's really the 4 simple steps. So if you go back to the beginning, you just need to choose which model you want to license to your customer, whether it's per user or per channel. And then it's simple as choose whichever pricing plan if they want included calls. Do you need any additional call flow services? You may not, depending on what the customer's requirements are. And then do you need to port any of their numbers? If it's just a new number range, they don't need to port any. There's just the monthly recurring charge. There's no setup fee for number ranges. So that's really how the pricing goes in. Probably the $1 million question then everybody asks is, what's the rebate? What's in it for you for selling? So from an Ingram Micro perspective, there's a basically a flat 15% rebate off any of the monthly charges for the user plans or channel plans. So any of the calling plans, there's a flat 15% rebate. So if you're selling your $35 plan, it would be 15% of $35 would come back to you via Ingram. On the call flow services, it's 7.5%. And then on the setup charges, obviously they're once off, so there's no rebates on them. On the number ranges, again, there's 7.5% rebate. On the porting charges, they're just an industry pass-through at cost fee, so there's no rebates on the porting charges. How do you actually refer a customer and get started? So there is a referral form that Ingram can send through to you, talk to your account manager. So this is all about referring your customers through. So this will flow through to Ingram and then through to Switch Connect, and then we'll reach out to you as the reseller to talk about the customer needs, what you need, and then how to actually quote that up. So this is a key component to actually get on board is the actual referral form to actually refer that end user and the customer. This protects everyone from a privacy standpoint and all the regulatory compliance. So definitely reach out to your account manager to get the referral form. Question we get a lot from resellers is and the MSP community is it's a newer technology. Everyone wants to touch and feel it first. So what we've actually built is a proof of concept product, especially for Ingram. So what we find is a lot of partners on this referral form will refer themselves through to Switch Connect, and then we'll sign up for a proof of concept. So basically what we've done is a flat fee of $3.99. It's a one-time fee, so it's more of a setup charge. And for that, what we'll do is we'll organise a webinar with you to step through what your actual requirements are. We then run up a 14-day trial, and what we'll deliver to you is 2 concurrent SIP channels, 5 GID numbers that you can connect to your existing Office 365 and Teams platform. We'll cover the cost of any of the channel fees and call fees, so that you can actually test it and actually experience it within your own business about how that actually works and then how that works for your business. The end of the 14 days, we'll then have a review session with you, see how that worked. If you do a proof of concept and then decide to go ahead, you don't then have to pay the direct route setup fee because that's all included as part of the proof of concept. It's just choosing what channel or user options and if you want to port your numbers across moving forward. You can also sell this product on to your end customers. We've done a lot of end customers who and resellers who have wanted to do this with their end customers because they want to see it and touch it and feel it. So that's another option as well. I might just hand over to Tash about some of the Ingram Micro rebates available for buying all your 365 licensing through Ingram.
Thank you, Rowan. That's been awesome. It's a lot of information. We can see we have questions coming through already. I'll just touch briefly on the question I'm sure will come through, which is, do you have to buy your Microsoft licenses from Ingram? The short answer is that we would very much like you to take advantage of our cloud marketplace and to order and manage your Microsoft and other cloud service subscriptions with us. There's a lot of benefits to consolidated billing, etc. And at the moment, we have a promotion to coincide with the Switch Connect new partnership, where you do get Visa cards till the end of March. So that can be asked about with your account managers, absolutely. And again, by taking advantage of our cloud marketplace, we have other services that back up Microsoft, like AvePoint, that back up Teams, SharePoint, Office. We also have Skykick, and like a plethora of other really good services that I think complement our Microsoft portfolio. The only other question that I will answer before it gets asked to me is how the rebates do get paid. So ideally, we're looking at a monthly payment in arrears of the month before with a minimum requirement. So I think we're going to set it probably about $100 or so. So until you hit that minimum, we won't kick back a credit to your account until that happens. We do wait for Switch Connect's reports to come through, which we then do a bit of due diligence on, etc. But if you require us to pay you pay directly, you know, and without a credit into your account, we can discuss that as well. Let me just see if there's anything else we wanted to talk about before the questions came through. Katie, do you want to start asking Rowan?
Yeah, sure. So we've got a few questions come in. First one, GrandStream brand is not mentioned. Would this be supported for a handset?
No. So one thing around this is probably a good question I probably should have covered off on. With the handsets, it's dictated by Microsoft. So I'm just going to take a step back and we'll get to the CPE. So Microsoft has a vision that no customer needs a handset on the desk, that it's it's a client-only experience, because that gives you the full, rich experience of Teams. And that's been Microsoft's view for many, many years, even when Skype first came out. It's all around that's what it should be. And what we find in a lot of the markets is the mobile phone now is becoming the enterprise handset. So it's the Teams client on the mobile phone, and that's what becomes the handset within the enterprise market. That's not our view, that's Microsoft's view. We've been in the voice market for over 10, 15 years, and that's just not the practical case. There's a number of use cases in which handsets are required, like reception, if you've got warehouses, if you've got workplace health and safety requirements, there's always a need there to have a physical handset. But that certification of the handsets is all dictated by Microsoft. So there's only 2 vendors that I'm aware of that are actually certified. There's more and more coming out. The one that we would highly recommend would be Yealink. But even within the Yealink suite of handsets, there's only 3 supported handsets that Microsoft has ticked. So there's a T56A, T58A, which are desktop handsets. It has like a 5-inch touchscreen and runs a native Teams environment. The other one is a CP960 and CP960W, which is like your conference room conference phone. So they're the only 3 that are actually supported via Microsoft. One thing to note too, the functionality on the handset from a Teams perspective is dictated by Microsoft, not Yealink. So how the handsets actually work is the manufacturer delivers a handset and Microsoft delivers the application over the top. So all that is actually dictated by Microsoft. Now, in that, there's some really, really cool features. When you log into your Office 365 portal and go into your Teams configuration, you probably would have seen in the new GUI that they've just rolled out, on the left-hand side, there's a devices tab. So once you fire up a handset the first time, it does pull into that, fully integrates to Yealink's management portal straight from that GUI, so you can do firmware upgrades, set policies, and all sorts of things to the handset. But the only handsets that we'd probably recommend at the moment that we've actually tested and know work quite well are the Yealinks. GrandStream aren't on the certification list yet. There is a GrandStream handset, like any of the Android ones that you can get, and you can fire up a Teams client on it. The problem you have is the integration to the handset. Like we've tested the GrandStream one. The issue is if you run the Teams client on it and make a phone call and then pick up the handpiece, it closes the app and reopens it, so it hangs up the phone call because they haven't got the natively certified Teams app on them. So you'll probably see over the next 6 months there'll be more and more options get released, but at the moment there's a limited list that have been certified and allowed to be released as from Microsoft.
Cool. We have a couple more questions here, Ron, so let's get to them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go.
Do we need to port existing numbers to Switch Connect?
You will to deliver the service, because all the carriage is delivered by Switch Connect, so you will need to port the customer's numbers across. For the proof of concept, though, we'll give you 5 test numbers to test with. But to migrate to the service, you will need to port those numbers across from whoever your existing carrier, whether it's Telstra, Optus, whoever.
Yeah, and I know that you do help the reseller with that, don't you?
So we manage that. We've got a team that will manage that whole process and step you through that whole process.
Yeah, cool. And I think we have another one.
There's a few more. Does it allow us to provide various PABX features?
Yes, so Teams does natively support a bunch of PBX functionality. So like Microsoft's been trying to get like a on-par comparison between Skype for Business and Teams, which they call it Teams parity, I think is the lingo Microsoft uses. It was meant to be end of December, January. It's fairly close. So you do have your functionality like your call park, your on hold, your consultative transfer, shared call appearances, boss and secretary type services. So there are a bunch of functionalities that are built natively into Teams that will fit most customers' requirements. Where our value-added services are, when you look at PABX functionality, is around your inbound call flow in how you want that call to route around to different customers. That's where there's some limitations in the native Teams functionality, but we've got offerings around to fill those gaps for you.
And we have a question from Caleb, because he likes to ask good questions. Go ahead, Katie.
Can we not bring our own SAP service, or do they have to port?
SAP or SIP?
Yeah. SIP. Sorry, SIP.
Because we're delivering with the fuel carrier redundancy, and we built that with on our back-end tier 1 platform. If the customer's of the size and there's a requirement, it can be done as a bespoke piece, but the default answer is probably no, just that this has come up with a number of partners. It's not as simple as what that sounds to do. There's a number of complexities to how the actual product offering is built and how the Teams direct route integration works. And it comes down to your redundancy and functionality. So what we'd say, if you do have some sort of requirement that needs that, definitely refer it, have a chat to your account manager, and let's organise a conversation about that. But that's a bit more in-depth conversation we need to have. The default answer would probably be no, unless it's a significant requirement in which you need it. There's a lot of complexity around that question.
Yeah, exactly. We have another SIP question, which if you can answer it relatively easily, please do. Otherwise, there may be some further email that we'll have to send out to answer these, but give it a shot, Rowan.
So there's another question. Would customer connect to SIP connect through the internet?
Okay, so how it works currently is is this more, okay, we'll go through how Teams works and connectivity, and then we'll go through from there. So with direct routing, the current call flow actually routes back through the Microsoft Cloud. So if we go from an end user perspective, I'm sitting on my Teams client on my laptop and I'm making a call. The audio part of that actually goes from the client up to Microsoft 365 Cloud and then down to Switch Connect. Currently, we run that over Azure Connect. So we've got a dedicated pipe to Microsoft to guarantee quality around that. So it's not over the public internet, if that makes sense. It's direct into Microsoft Cloud. There is a product that you've probably heard Microsoft talk about in the direct route capability, which is they call media bypass. So what that will allow you to do is the client will talk directly to Switch Connect over the internet when that happens. One thing to also note is all that traffic is fully encrypted. So different to a lot of hosted PBX systems where it's just unencrypted voice traffic routing around, it's actually fully encrypted. So the actual traffic from the client back to Microsoft Teams isn't actually running as SIP traffic, it's running as WebRTC. So it's HTTPS encrypted traffic. So a lot of your routers, unless you're running SSL inspection, you won't actually detect that traffic. So if you try and do clearest way to test it is try and do a Wireshark on your Teams client when a call is running, and you'll notice there's no voice traffic being transmitted. It's all TLS encrypted HTTP traffic.
So
and then the one last piece of that, then from our back-end infrastructure, obviously we have direct private layer 2 connections up to our back-end carriers. So it doesn't, in essence, transcribe the internet. The only bit does is from the Teams client to Microsoft, but that's all fully encrypted.
So I think this question is related as well. Go ahead, Katie.
So how does the call center functionality sit over the top of direct routing?
So in essence, we run that off our hosted platform, and then it will ring through to the extensions that you've got set up on direct routing. So it's all going over that same voice path. So we'll talk directly to Teams via the direct Azure link, and then to the Teams client. So it's all cloud hosted in our infrastructure. That's simple enough. Happy. That's probably another discussion offline around. But some of these are great questions, but it's kind of a whiteboard session type of discussion.
Yeah. Well, we were just thinking maybe we'll send these questions through to you, Rowan, and we can either address them in the webinars that we're hoping to have in future, or some of the educational videos that we are talking about making available to the resellers. Yep. But yeah, we'll give you these as food for thought to build.
Some of them maybe we might need to put a couple of PowerPoint slides through, and we can do another pre-recorded session that we can send out around more of the technical in-depth stuff.
Well, so thank you very much. It's obvious there's a lot of interest in this solution, Rowan. I just want to let the listeners know that we will be sending out the webinar link and the actual slides. And because we do want to build out some videos on certain topics and subject matters that are recurring questions, we'll always make sure that the registered attendees are in the loop with any new information. I know that you're getting a lot of the same questions, so I think we should just record you and we can listen to you at our leisure.
No.
There's a few more questions coming in, so I think because we're running out of time, we might. Do you want to answer them quickly, or let's have a look?
Yeah, shoot them through, and we'll see if we can answer them quickly.
Okay. So, one question is, do you have separate call rates for international calls?
Yes. Yeah, so we do have a complete call list that we can send through. I can make available to the Ingram. Just that when you look at international, it's hard to put on the slide because there's that many entries, but there is an international call rate. And when you're talking about local inbound, outbound calls in different countries, there's that many options. So we do have a standard international one. So say you've got Australian numbers and you're ringing internationally, we have a standard international price book. And for if you have a customer and you want local inbound, outbound numbers in different countries, that's kind of on a case by case, we send that through. It's a very big document.
Speaking of large documents, we do have a question here about the actual contract terms that would be made between yourself and the end user. I don't know if you can answer that easily, but is that something we can make available?
Yeah, so it's actually on our website. So if you actually go to the Switch Connect website and go under legal, it's called a standard forms of agreement. It's an industry standard telco contract. It's actually regulated by the Australian Communications Media Authority. So that contract is standardly available on our website. Under legal, you'll see there's a standard form of agreement there. It's a standard contract. It's publicly available.
Cool. Questions are still coming in.
What we could do is probably add that link to the webinar stuff that goes out.
I have to ask this because it's awesome. Last question. Why was GoToWebinar used for this webinar and not Teams?
Funny story about this. We did an event. So one of the other features that we can do for you is we're happy to run webinars. So if you've got a bunch of customers that you want to go and talk about this stuff and you want us to come in and do a session for you, we've done it for a number of Ingram resellers already. Funny story about that. We actually did one the other day last week at Microsoft at their Innovation Centre in Brisbane. And so we're talking about Teams, but they broadcasted it with Skype for Business because they haven't upgraded their technology in their Innovation Centre. So it is a unique question that we do get. But yeah, it's global reach, what people have access to.
Yeah, global, exactly. And we have a standardization here at Ingram, and we just have a process that works. But I love that question. That's a great one to end on. With the other questions that are coming through, I'll fire them all to you, Rowan, and then if you have a few moments to answer them succinctly or create links to wherever the information already exists. Like I said, there's a lot of interest. It's a hot topic, and we're happy to help anyone who needs to know more. Just ring our cloud team, absolutely. I think we're probably going to close that for today. It's been amazing. I'm sure you need a big drink of water now.
Oh, we do, and it is one of those topics. It's a new technology, and there's not much information out in the marketplace about it. Because we've been doing it so long, everyone seems to come to us and ask us how it all works. So I just want to try and give you enough overview today to at least get the thought process started. But if we need to book in follow-up webinars, if you've got specific questions, I'm more than happy to jump on a session with any of Ingram's resellers and your account manager and just step through any specific questions you may have, show you what it actually looks like and things like that. More than happy to.
Awesome. Cool. With all the questions, guys, if we haven't answered them, we'll absolutely be sending them through. Thanks again, Rowan, and I'm sure.
No problem.
Enjoy Brisbane.
Will do.
Thank you for attending, everyone.